welcome to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became more and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
Poor old Dusty.
Joe Giammatteo.
It's survival of the fittest, not the fattest.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history one pay-per-view at a time. That's right, folks. This is a special pay-per-view episode, so pay-per-view stipulations are in effect. We're going to be giving our star ratings. Joe's going to be giving us Dave Meltzer's star ratings. In the end, we're going to talk about whether or not we got our money's worth. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Breakdown pay-per-view. Breakdown aired on September 27th, 1998, and was recorded at the Cops Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and features Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then. Let's get into it. So at the top here, guys, let's not forget that we've got Sunday Night Heat leading us into this. So the matches that we missed are, or at least the important ones that were noted in my research. I'll let you be the decider on how important some of these were. But first up, Golga defeated Mosh.
That's driving every week.
Yeah.
That story.
People were mashing the buy button after that.
Yeah. I hate to say I told you so, but it really seems like we're getting that feud between the oddities and the headbangers.
Great.
This one was a pleasant surprise. The Hardy Boys defeated Kai and Tai. So they're finally starting to hit the C-roll show.
The Hardy Boys?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
Well,
right.
in my research, they were. I can't speak to whether they actually were in real time because I sure as hell was not going to try to find and watch this episode of Heat. And finally, 8-Ball of the DOA defeated Billy Gunn and Skull of the DOA. Whatever the hell that was.
Sounds like a banger of a main event to me.
Mm-hmm.
As long as that's showing the future demise of the DOA, I guess I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to mostly agree with that. I just hope we don't get some kind of material on Raw about it. It's like I don't really want to see a 8-Ball versus Skull match on Monday Night Raw.
No, that should stay on Sunday Night Heat or Saturday night.
But let's get the hell away from that. That will come into play here shortly. We'll get some more updates from information that they gave us on Heat. But our video vignette to kick off this pay-per-view compared Vince McMahon to, in various places, Joseph Stalin, Einstein, Newt Rockney, JFK, and Martin Luther King Jr. I think I even saw Il Duce Mussolini in there towards the end.
It's quite a mixture of personalities there.
Yeah. The whole thing was clipped together, and it was a run of Vince McMahon quotes, sometimes repeated, highlighting Vince's master plan to rob Stone Cold Steve Austin of the championship. After a quick summary of the Stone Cold situation from JR and the King on commentary, we went straight into our first match of the night. Owen Hart defeats Edge by pinfall in 9 minutes and 18 seconds. I loved the crowd love for both of these competitors, especially Owen Hart. Edge and Owen, both Canadian, but a nice pop for Owen and some good-natured ribbing on Owen there from the crowd. They let us know here that on Heat, another stipulation has been added to that championship match with Austin. So if anybody interferes in that match, it will be immediately stopped and Austin will be stripped of the title. Just in case that matters later on. Spoilers, it won't. Things were mostly good here in this match. The action was entertaining, but the one thing I noticed happened pretty frequently, there were a lot of near misses in this match. Edge just barely ducking the clothesline. Edge just barely tucking his head through a power slam, just barely getting out of his own way while reversing. And also a few spots where it looked like Edge wasn't setting the move up correctly. It really looked like Owen was walking Edge through the majority of this match, not just calling spots, but at one point you could see Owen stopping a move and reminding Edge to get an arm up around Owen's head to properly execute the reversal. Even the finish almost failed because Edge tried to grab the ropes when Owen went to roll him up. That finish, by the way, was the debut of Christian, showing up through the crowd to stand at the outside, distracting Edge and giving Owen the opportunity for the surprise roll-up. So I thought this match was fine, but all of those little details were really glaring for me, so I ended up just leaving it at 1 star. Ryan, what did you think of our opening match?
I thought it was perfectly fine. Both of these guys, they could work in the ring. Owen Hart, certainly a little bit better here. He's more of a veteran, and as you said, it was evident he was walking Edge through some of this match, but for the most part, it was serviceable. I didn't think this was a bad way to start off the pay-per-view. I loved seeing Christian come out, though. The debut of Christian, of course, we have hindsight on our favor here to know where this is going, but because of that, I was very happy to see Christian here, just knowing where things are going to go. Probably tomorrow night, we're going to get more of this story. So I am interested in this storyline, and I thought it was solid enough that I didn't go quite as low as you as a 1 star, but I couldn't go much higher than a 2 star because this really had no build up or anything. It was just thrown at us.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good match. I don't really have any notes, but I thought it was solid. I think, again, that Edge is showing that he's a pretty good wrestler with nothing real flashy yet, but solid work for a new young guy. I don't know how old he is here, but he's got to be early 20s probably. So for a new young guy to come in and do this, I think he looks pretty good, and it's pretty nice to see that he's already involved in a storyline that we actually think is interesting.
Yeah.
Now that we see Christian, we don't even know who Christian is. He's just some guy standing there.
Who is this?
For him, it's like, okay, this guy's immediately inserted into a storyline that is going to be interesting. So that's good to see. I gave it 2 stars as well.
Okay. What'd Meltzer think of it?
He gave it 2 3/4 stars. He said that Owen Hart did a real good job of carrying Edge to probably the best technical match of the show.
Yeah, given the rest of the show, I don't know that I can really argue with that. We'll keep it going to backstage. Doc Hendricks was with Sable, who was actually looking pretty decent here. She was even acceptable in her brief moment on the microphone to pitch the Superstars call-in line 1-800-SHAMELESS. I don't know what you guys think, but this kind of harkened back to me, at least, for that moment that she was on commentary where it made me wonder if somebody was like slipping her shooters or something before doing it, because she was actually relaxed and human in this brief delivery with Doc Hendricks.
Voiceover.
Yeah, it was AI. Back in 98.
No, it was, what the fuck's his name?
Jason
Sensation.
No, Pritchard. It was Pritchard.
That was a very quick diversion because we were quickly moving into our next match. Al Snow and Scorpio defeat Too Much by pinfall in 8 minutes and 5 seconds. My very first note, Too Much's music is just so wrong for them right now. I don't know what the hell it's supposed to be, but it sounds like all serious.
Is it still the Brian Christopher music?
It very well may be. You're right.
Yeah, because his music, like, even when he was a singles guy, like, I never thought it was appropriate for him. It's like it's dark, dark sounding, like spooky movie type of
something a serial
song.
Killer would come out
Yeah.
to. Yes.
He's a loud, obnoxious, goofy guy.
Yeah.
And Scott Taylor is too. They're both obnoxious jackasses coming out, and it does not fit. It doesn't fit at all. Hopefully that gets changed pretty soon. We also got here another update that was delivered on Heat. So there is going to be tonight a steel cage match between Ken Shamrock, Mankind, and The Rock later on. And this really made me wonder why these things got added at the last minute rather than be advertised in advance of the pay-per-view to try to increase sales. Why are we finding about this shit at the last minute?
At the end of the episode last Raw, when this match finished, if McMahon would have gone on the mic and said that, it would have maybe pushed some more buys.
Yeah, I don't know. But in the match here, I did really like Scott Taylor moonwalking to his corner and then Brian Christopher doing the jackal laugh and hopping on the ropes. That was funny, and I'll continue with that theme in my notes here. In the early parts of this match, I felt really that the weak link was Scorpio. That was before Scorpio tried to use a steel chair as a springboard and slipped on it, going flat on his ass in the corner. Thankfully, he did make a little bit of contact, so the Too Much tag team could still sell the spot, but I thought that was hilarious. He fucked that up pretty good. I also hated Scorpio lifting Scott Taylor out of a pin. I thought that sucked. And at one point, it looked like Scorpio got injured, and things really turned into a clusterfuck after that. By the time it was all said and done, I couldn't honestly tell if he really was injured or not, but there was a moment where he had to step aside with some special referee attention, and I don't know if that was just part of the match. It didn't look like it. Can't put anything past these people when it comes to working something, so who knows?
Possibly a situation where he was hurt, not injured.
Right, yep. Maybe just a minute to catch his breath or
right,
shake it off, walk it off, so to speak. Al Snow ended up winning with the snowplow, which is one of my favorite finishers of all time. Very cleverly named, I think. Pretty sure I did a Mount Crushmore on one of our Christmas episodes about the snowplow. I don't know. We've done so many and had so many Crushmores. It's really hard to tell anymore, but
they bleed together.
They do. They very much do. One of these days, I'll make that spreadsheet. Part of me was tempted to rate this poorly, because, like I said earlier, Scorpio was very much the weak link through this entire match, but I ended up going with 2 stars because in the end, I was really impressed with Too Much. This is the best that they've looked as a tag team so far. I really enjoyed watching them. I think that they are finally in that groove to where they can do stupid shit like the moonwalk and the jackal laugh and the hopping on the ropes, and it's finally like funny obnoxious. And I don't know what the difference is between 3 months ago and now, but now I think I'm ready for it. This is the best they've looked, and I'm not rolling my eyes at them anymore. So Joe, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, I think that they're finding their way. Too Much is, but the botching with the chair with Scorpio, and I hated the confusion at the end with who the legal man was, and Scorpio has been a jobber for so long now that it's just hard for me to just flip the switch and just think that he's not a jobber. So it's
what do you mean? A month ago he was headlining Raw.
yeah. So it's really hard, and I also hate this head gimmick. So I'm giving this 1 star.
I didn't think this was bad. I agree with both of you that Too Much is finding their groove, it seems. And I thought it was cool. This crowd, they seem to like Al Snow. They had their head props out there. It seemed like he really built up that fan base in ECW, so got to give him credit for that. We do, of course, and neither one of you mentioned it, so I will. JR comments about Brian Christopher and the King, asking him if he laughed like a hyena when he was a baby. It is extra funny because we know that the King was not really around at all when Brian Christopher was a baby or a kid or a middle schooler or a high schooler. I remember hearing Lawler in a interview say that their relationship was more of a friendship and fellow wrestler than a typical father and son dynamic. And in that interview, he acknowledged that he was a terrible father, so at least he's self-aware. The botch by Scorpio was hard to overlook. I think without that, the match could have came off even better. But another thing that really went against it, Joe, you mentioned, was the ref was just counting anyone at the end. It didn't matter who was on the ground or who was on top of him. He was going to give a 3 count. So that kind of fucked that up too. But I still ended up landing, like you, Bartlett, on 2 stars because I really like where Too Much is going. I think they're really starting to grow and turn into a good tag team here.
Yeah. What did Meltzer think of this?
He gave this 2.25 stars, and he didn't have much to say. He just said the match was fine.
Yeah, I thought this really propped up what I said last week about Al Snow being pigeonholed into a quote-unquote hardcore wrestler, and Scorpio too, like by proxy, being tagged with him. They didn't need to do at least a half of the hardcore shit that they did in this. The chair, Scorpio botching on the chair, was a prime example of that. That was too much, if you will. They didn't need it, and it looked like shit as a result. So I'm not sure who that is. I'm not sure if that's the back office trying to capitalize on the goodwill earned by Al Snow and ECW and Scorpio, again, as a kind of a hanger on to that. But man, it feels like if Al Snow and Scorpio could just do some normal wrestling without trying to do an ECW flavor on it, that it might be a little better, at least less fucky. What's up next? Backstage, Michael Cole. He was with the Brothers of Destruction. They were in their ring gear this time, not sweatpants or a tracksuit. And Michael Cole did a pretty good job here asking the relevant question of who gets to pin Austin and the potential conflict of brother versus brother. But we got a really good Undertaker answer here. We got that tone of voice. We got him rolling up his eyeballs so that we got the whites of Taker's eyes. Things felt like they should, as the Undertaker assured us of an understanding between brothers and the assured annihilation of Steve Austin. Just real quick though, guys, Undertaker also had his eyebrow pierced here. Was that a thing before this pay-per-view and I just never noticed it?
I don't remember noticing it before that, but I do remember when he had the eyebrow pierced. Like, I remember that being a thing, like during his ministry years and having that, but I don't remember seeing it up until now.
Yeah, I had same reaction. I thought I don't remember seeing that until now. So yeah, it must be new.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind moving forward, but not in our next match. Mark Marrow with Jackie defeats Droz by pinfall in 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Jackie still doesn't have a championship belt. We talked about that
First thing
week.
I noticed as well.
Yep, I was looking for it. Whenever I heard the entrance music, I was like, okay, maybe she'll have the belt now. Nope.
Well, especially because they announced her as the woman's title holder, but still no actual title.
Yep. Droz came out, and now every time I see him, all I can think of is that tattoo he has of Odie shooting himself. Every time, and I thought like maybe I should get a tattoo of Odie shooting himself.
It's funny because I thought you were going to say the only thing you could think of is
he's gotta puke. He's gotta puke.
That's what I think of when I see Droz.
Yeah, well, that has been supplanted now by that fucking Droz's World clip. Things were fine in this match. I didn't have many notes because I didn't see much that was noteworthy until the finish. Marrow's finisher, he debuted here. He called it the Marvelocity. Watching that made my butthole pucker because I really thought he was going to clip himself off the corner post. It was tight. It was tight in the corner. There was not a lot of breathing room for him to execute that move. He did, but if that went wrong, that was going to go wrong in a pretty bad way, so I'm glad he didn't.
Would have ended whatever was left of his career.
Yeah, it would have finished the job that Sable started.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I gave this 1 star. Not great, not terrible. Ryan, what'd you have?
Yeah, I agree with you. Both of these guys are they're very mid-level mid-carders. Like, they're not even good mid-carders, really. I did get a kick out of when Droz was making his way down the ramp to the ring. There was a sign that someone in the crowd was holding up that said Venus 3.16 inches. I thought that was pretty funny. Sadly, that was probably the most entertaining thing in this match, though. It wasn't offensive. Bad. It got a little bit boring in the middle, and I just lost interest in it. I didn't think it was dud territory, certainly not, but I really couldn't go any higher than 1 star. That's the max for this one.
Yeah, a couple things I thought of right away was that we're not doing ourselves any favors here trying to get people over with, we mentioned already Jacqueline being the women's champion, not having a title, and Droz. I wondered, what are we doing with Droz's name? Because the graphic says Droz. He's announced as Darren Drozdov. The announcers are calling him Darren Drozdov, Droz, Puke, all these different names. It's like, can we give this guy a chance and just stick to one name and go from there? So I don't understand why they're still doing that. I didn't hate this match. It's just some random match, and Mark Marrow sucks. So I landed at 1 star on this one.
It's a shame because if you remember, anyone that's been a long-time listener, we started out hating Mark Marrow.
Yeah.
And then he slowly, after a character, after a new paint of coat, we started to enjoy him. We thought he was getting better and better, but he's been sliding back into that. I just hate to see him when he shows up now. So that's a shame.
Yeah. Well, really, you can't blame the guy for having ring rust on him because Sable has been doing all of the wrestling-related events when it comes to Mark Marrow being... When's the last time we saw Mark Marrow in a straight-up one-on-one match?
Probably when Sable bombed him.
Yeah. It's been a minute, so you can't blame him necessarily for the ring rust. What'd Meltzer think of this?
He gave it a 1/4 of a star. He said that the place totally died during this match.
Yeah.
That's an accurate description.
Well, let's see if it can recover in our next match. Bradshaw defeats Vader by pinfall in 7 minutes and 55 seconds in a no-holds-barred anything-goes match. Before we go any farther here, Ryan, would you mind please checking the official Wrasslin Raw 10-10-3-2-1 answering machine? Maybe Vader left us a status update on there.
Absolutely. I'm pretty interested, especially after Bradshaw really laid into him for his weight. I wonder what he has to say for us. But let me give it a check.
Maybe Vader time's over. I'm nothing but a big piece of shit. Big fat piece of shit.
Yeah, he really let Bradshaw get into his head there.
He did. Psyched out by the big Texan.
Looking less Texan now.
Yeah. So after Vader's entrance, we went backstage to Michael Cole, where he was with a brand new Bradshaw. I'm talking haircut. I'm talking clean shave. Really, he looked like early 2000s JBL here, rather than Bradshaw, as we know him in 1998. Startling, but Bradshaw did take the opportunity to call Vader a fat bastard, and that tracks. Like, after this promo from Bradshaw, he said much more than that. That was just my one-liner takeaway. But I was really hoping for a brutal match between these two after that, because on all of the contemporary podcasts nowadays, you hear people back in the day, Cornette, Pritchard, JR, talking about how Vader could be really stiff, and he was an old-school asshole that way, and Bradshaw was an asshole and could be really stiff. And I was like, okay, well, you've got this hot promo, calling Vader out. Maybe these guys are just going to go in there and it's not going to be pretty, but they're going to beat the shit out of each other. Maybe this is going to be entertaining.
A slobber knocker.
Yes, a slobber knocker. In some ways, I think we got that. Not very many, but in some ways. Bradshaw was putting in the work here. I cannot fault Bradshaw for this match at all. But there were way too many times where it just really looked like Vader was half-assing it and not giving a shit at all. And that's all I've got for this match. I shouldn't even call it that. This wasn't a match that I was asking for, at least. This was more like an exhibition, it felt like. But I also can't say that I hated it either, so 1 star is where I ended up sitting. Joe, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, this new look for Bradshaw is nice. It's a fresh haircut, but he's still wearing those shitty cowboy wrestling boots. I wish he would ditch those. But outside of that, it's a nice, fresh look for him.
No assless chaps, though, so...
Yeah, you hate to see those go in the trash. These guys got to refresh every once in a while.
Yeah.
Completely fat-shaming Vader out of the WWF here is what we're doing. Bradshaw even said, at one point he was outside the ring and he just said fat fuck into the camera, which made me pop hard. I love that. So this is as terrible as you would think it would be. Vader has just been has been awful in his time here at the WWF. So I went with 1 star.
When they announced the opponents in this match, I really wasn't looking for much, but when Bradshaw cut his promo back there, I thought maybe it'd at least piss the real Vader off maybe a little bit, that it would lead to some bit of a brutal match.
Right.
But we didn't get that. Vader, when he came out, though, he really tried to work the crowd. Did you notice how much he was trying to work up the crowd?
Yes. Yeah.
Went off to the one side. He did the Vader dance, the one that the most
Vader
beautiful
shuffle.
man in wrestling, Paul Bear, mocked a few months ago. But why? because he basically got his ass kicked here. He got in a little bit, but this was Bradshaw just bullying him. He kicks out of the Vader bomb, and the way that Bradshaw ends up winning is just clotheslining and then just pummeling and just manhandling Vader to win this match. So they were really grinding Vader into the ground here. JR, of course, brought up that Bradshaw was a tackle for Adeline Christian. I don't know if you guys heard that part, but one thing, and I'm going to bring this up as I have in the past, that is really quite funny about this apparent new Bradshaw with a new revised push is, again, let's remember, he lost the Brawl for All just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And the winner has yet to be seen on television since.
Yes.
The reason is that the reason hasn't been on TV since then either. Dr. Death.
Right. That's true, because he's still dead.
Yeah. He's passed away.
The finish of this, after a couple clotheslines from hell, he lands a modified neck breaker and then just tosses Vader aside like a fucking jobber. Like, this was really showing of where they're putting Vader and what they think of Vader. So this was very, very close to a dud, but like both of you, it wasn't quite that bad. So I did give it 1 star, but ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, but I also think it's worth maybe just taking the view of this is also evidence of just how much effort Vader is willing to put in. And that's been the problem with Vader.
True.
He half-asses it. He half-asses damn near everything.
Yeah, it's his own fault.
Yes. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to make an explicit note of like as shitty as this match was, well, as 1 star shitty as it was, Bradshaw was at least trying. Vader didn't look like he was at all. What'd Meltzer think of this match? Meltzer's a big fan of Vader, I thought.
It's funny because he thought it was stiff. He said he gave it 1.5 stars, and he said another match with no crowd heat, but damn was it stiff. Yeah, he thought it was a stiff match. I didn't really notice that when I think honestly, like, I'm so sick of Vader now that I probably just wasn't even giving a shit.
Yeah. You know what? This wasn't in Japan.
Well, it was nowhere near the level, like, remember that Vader and Ken Shamrock match? That was stiff.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that was
that
a stiff
I remember.
match.
But yeah, this one, it didn't really give me that vibe, but Meltzer thought it was.
Okay, well, we'll keep it moving. So we went backstage again, this time to the WWF.com closet that they've been keeping Kevin Oh My God Kelly in. Kevin and Dr. Tom Pritchard were there with Jason Sensation to get his thoughts on the evening. And Jason's impersonations here weren't all that great compared to some of his previous ones. He did do The Undertaker again. That one was good and spot on, but the other ones were not that good.
The Rock was downright terrible.
Yes.
Oh, see, I thought the Rock one was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah. I was thinking
I thought
to myself,
the Jeff Jarrett
like,
one was pretty bad too.
Yeah. But I was thinking to myself, if you were not looking at the screen, I maybe would have thought that was The Rock. I didn't think it was that bad.
I did not.
Yeah. And after that, we went into our next match. D'Lo Brown defeats Gangrel by pinfall in 7 minutes and 50 seconds. So this is where it hit me. It feels like the theme of the night so far to this point is we're getting a bunch of mid-card Monday Night Raw matches for this pay-per-view.
That's pretty much what it's been.
So in the match here, the high speed from Gangrel at the start of this was the first time so far in the entire show that I felt any kind of energy coming out of the ring at all. I was energized by the way that this match started off. And I love that D'Lo is still wearing tights that say European Champion on them. That's great. Another note I had here, I also love the running power bomb from D'Lo. That was good. And things pretty much stayed there through this match. It looked like D'Lo might have got blown up again, but that's fine because it seemed like it was at about the same time that Mark Henry came in for the assist to give D'Lo the victory. So I don't have a lot of notes on this match, but I ended up going with 3 stars on this. And I'm not sure if it's because of how lackluster the card had been so far or what, but like this was the first match of the night that felt like pay-per-view energy. And for that, I felt refreshed enough to give it 3 stars. Ryan, what'd you have on this?
Yeah, I thought so far has been the highlight of the night right now. I still love Gangrel's entrance. His music is great. The way he comes down to the ring, spitting the blood, his dragon hand blood goblet that he had. Like, it's all very edgy and perfect for the time.
Yeah.
He looks like he's sponsored by Spencer's.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying that is a bad thing.
No.
JR reminded us that D'Lo Brown is a former defensive end for the Maine Black Bears. I'm always going to bring that up. D'Lo, he has had good matches, and so have Gangrel. So I wasn't surprised that these two guys worked pretty well together, but I was surprised it ended up being as entertaining as I thought it was, mainly because what we were doing leading into this maybe had my expectations in the basement now. But I thought they did a good job here, and I also liked the storytelling at the end. Mark Henry comes out. We learn again from Heat that he declared China is his girlfriend, so we're officially knee deep in that storyline, it seems. So that's cool. We have a little bit of fuckery at the end that allows D'Lo to win, but I liked the stuff after. Gangrel spits the blood in the Henry's face. He attacks D'Lo, so even though he got a cheap loss here, Gangrel still came off as pretty strong. Yeah, I'm with you. I gave this 3 stars because I thought it was a good, solid match.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think that this had, like you said, Bartlett, I think this had the most pay-per-view energy so far. David Heath is the guy playing Gangrel, and I think he really works a great style for that character.
Yeah.
There's something about it that he almost works like this weird loose cannon style that I think just works really well for a vampire gimmick. I love when D'Lo hits a big move and then yells out, "You better recognize," to the crowd. I always love when he does that. I actually cringed a little bit when I saw that running power bomb, because that's the move that's going to eventually paralyze Droz in the future, and the crowd popped for it. It is an impressive looking move, but it's also a very dangerous looking move. I know that was an accident when that happened, obviously, but like, I don't know, it looks dangerous. It looks like you see a pile driver executed really well and you think, well, that looks great, but it looks dangerous. It has that same vibe for me.
Yeah.
This was the longest Gangrel match that we've seen so far, and JR tells us that this is his first loss, I think. So that's interesting to see. I think Mark Henry getting involved was good. Great looking lowdown from D'Lo. I'm going to give it 3 stars as well. I think that Meltzer disagrees here, but I think this match got the most crowd reaction up to this point too.
Yeah.
And I really like D'Lo's timing on hitting his big moves. I liked the shenanigans after the match with Gangrel and Mark Henry, and then the DDT. So yeah, 3 stars from me.
Yeah, good call on D'Lo's timing too. That's something that's, I think I've mentioned it way back a few weeks ago, but always just spot on with the timing. What did Meltzer think of this?
He gave it a 1/4 star, and he said it was another dead match. So he was not a fan.
All right, then.
Yeah, surprised. I thought the energy was palpable with this one. I could agree with that assessment for the previous matches, but not this one. Okay, well, moving along, I guess. Now, we got a recap of last week's triple threat match that was complete with Shane McMahon screaming over all of it, which was followed by Michael Cole backstage with Ken Shamrock, who did a pretty decent job giving a promo. It was probably one of the more complex promos we've gotten out of Kenny, which isn't saying a lot, but he delivered it really well. It was coherent. I wasn't worried about ongoing CTE complications listening to it, so that was good. That was followed by Doc Hendricks with The Rock, who of course nailed his promo. That was good shit. And then finally, Kevin Kelly was in some kind of boiler room with Mankind, and Mankind's promo was great too. I popped my ass off for Mankind saying that the people's elbow was sheer stupidity and that he wouldn't lay down to sell that abortion. What a great fucking line from Mankind. Loved it. So just briefly, guys, we'll go with Ryan first. Did you have anything on these 3 promos that we got from our competitors?
Well, I disagree with you a little bit on Kenny. I thought his was still pretty bad. I don't know. I guess for him, it was okay.
Yeah,
but
it's a low
when
bar.
It's compared to the next 2 people that come out,
Wow.
They just blow it out of the water and show why he's not quite in the same class as those two.
Yeah.
Because the Rock's promo was really good. Like, this was just classic Rock, and Mankind, beautiful. Like, that line at the beginning, you liked the one about the people's elbow. I loved when Michael Cole asked him what you would like to see happen tonight. And he said, well, I'd like to see world hunger get ended, but I don't think that's going to happen in a match. Just great how goofy the fuck he is. So, yeah, Ken was the weak link here, but I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I have noted here, too, that Mankind said something along the lines of, I'm used to stupidity all my life. I love that. I'm going to hold off on my comments on these promos because I think it goes with my comments on the match and my notes on the match. So I'll hold off.
Okay. Well, without further ado, then, let's go into it. Our next match. The Rock defeats Ken Shamrock and Mankind by pinfall in 18 minutes and 47 seconds in a triple threat steel cage match to become the number one contender for the WWF Championship. I was just sitting back enjoying this up until we got a double abdominal stretch in the center of the ring.
Yeah, that was a little iffy.
That took me out of it. And I'm honestly not sure what else to say about this. Up through the point where Shamrock attempted the ankle lock, I was thinking to myself, like, this is great and all, but we've already had this match. The only new thing is the cage, and the cage is not a plus as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest thing of note here is how much the crowd was behind The Rock. The crowd absolutely loved Rocky throughout all of this, from entrances to the finish. And that was the biggest takeaway for me. The crowd just hanging on everything that The Rock was doing. Moves, kickouts, everything. The Rock could do no wrong in this match. One thing that I did not like, though, was Mankind doing the Snuka jump off the top of the cage into the ring, just for The Rock to roll out of the way. Like, that could not have been worth it. That was a hell of a bump. That was a needless bump. This
that could
match,
be said about a lot of bumps in his career.
Well, this match, this pay-per-view, not worth it. I do not think it was worth it for the amount of trauma that he put on his fucking shoulders and hips doing that. Because he didn't hit it flat. Like, he wasn't belly flopping into that like Snuka would. He did that as an elbow drop, and so I think it was his whole right side just straight to the canvas. It looked rough as hell. Something interesting to note, though, is the crowd turning on Shamrock at one point with a Shamrock sucks chant, and then the almost heelish snapping from Shamrock after the bell. So that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on in the future. And that's all I have. The match was fine, but just, again, I feel like I've seen it already. So I went with 2 stars. Joe, what did you think of it?
Wow, I am going to be on the complete opposite side of you on this. I went into this. I don't have anything in the match itself that I think was like super memorable and makes this a 5-star match because of the work in the ring. But I was a little bit more mesmerized by the storytelling in this match, just the fact that this was booked. If you remember last week, they had this match last week, and I said this seems like a test.
Yes.
And isn't it great when a plan just comes together, because we got our
Light
answer.
that cigar.
We got our answer.
We
this
did get a
crowd
very good answer.
Is fully behind The Rock. Even when they were cutting their promos, when they showed The Rock on the screen with Doc Hendricks, the crowd exploded. Like, we are officially there for The Rock. And we're going to talk about the main event later, but I'm ready for Austin to work with someone else. Like, nothing. I'm ready for The Undertaker to work with someone else too. This is nice to see. And I think, the other side of this is Shamrock sucks chance. Like, that's the crowd telling a story here. I also liked Mankind getting his Snuka moment. The reason I liked it was because, and JR helped tell this story. He's yelling at Mick to go out the door. Go out the door, Mick. Don't climb the cage. What are you thinking? And it's because he's crazy.
Dream.
This man is crazy. And he's getting his Snuka moment. JR's yelling, he had a flashback to his teenage years. and I just laughed. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it told a story. This man is deranged and crazy. So he's doing this crazy shit. And again, I was just really mesmerized by the fact that this, to me, I think they had a plan going into this and it worked. I actually gave this 5 stars. I thought it was a great story. I didn't think the match was great, but I think it told a story. I think the crowd helped tell that story. I think commentary helped tell that story. The Rock and Mankind, especially The Rock, are top guys, and Shamrock is not. That's what this told me. So I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars.
So I'm going to definitely be more in Joe's camp here because I did really enjoy this match. And for the same reasons you did, Joe, because the wrestling in it was fine. These 3 guys know how to throw down, so that's no shocker. But the explosion of The Rock in this match, like tonight was a turning point. We've heard people cheering for The Rock up until now, but he exploded into stardom tonight because this arena was absolutely going crazy for him. This is the first time that it was evident that he could rival Stone Cold's fandom. Like the amount of reaction he got from the crowd when he came in, when he was on the offensive, the way that they turned on Shamrock the moment Shamrock started punching The Rock. Like it was clear they picked the right guy to win this match. They had a plan and it worked out absolutely perfectly. And Mankind stuff with the Jimmy Snuka, and then later he wraps a chair around Shamrock's head, but he doesn't go for the cover. He decides to try and climb out. So Mankind comes out of here still looking very strong. 2 times in this match, he could have won if he just did the right thing. But again, Joe, like you said, he's crazy. He doesn't care necessarily about the win as much as he cares about inflicting punishment on his opponent and himself in most cases, it seems. So I didn't go quite as high as a 5-star, but I thought this was a solid 4-star match. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys on the crowd reaction to The Rock. You'd have to be an idiot not to see that, and also with the downturn of Shamrock, I didn't quite see the story you guys are talking about. Maybe because I was tied up in the fact that I thought I had seen this already, and the cage again. So what Meltzer think of this?
Meltzer gave it 3.5 stars. He said the match started slow and it appeared it was going way too long, but it turned out to be very good.
Man, what a wild ride. Just about a year ago, we were everybody, including the crowd, us 3 and the crowd, were up on Shamrock over The Rock in that brief program they had together. So how the tables have turned. So, next up, we had a video package to recap the recent events that led up to our next segment, and as annoying as Dustin Runnels is with this whole preaching thing that he's doing, I failed to see how Val Venus isn't the heel here. Yeah.
That sounds like a baby face, right?
It takes on a sinister aspect for me now. It's creepy. Well, it was always creepy, but now it's like really creepy. Like Satan's gonna rape you creepy. But it was also great seeing Terry Runnels come out in what was basically skimpy lingerie here as we went into our next match. Val Venus with Terry Runnels defeats Dustin Runnels by pinfall in 9 minutes and 9 seconds. At the top, I just have to note that while Terry's boobs are just as artificial as anybody else's here in the WWF, for whatever reason, she is still light years hotter than Sable, in my opinion.
Parting the Red Sea, that dress was.
Yes, it was. And I was actually impressed with Dustin Runnels' work here. For the most part, he was actually working hard to make this look good. Maybe I'm just used to him.
Bad for him.
Maybe I'm feeling bad. Maybe I'm just used to him looking like shit in the ring, and any improvement looks like a bigger improvement than what it really is. I don't know. Of course, the crowd got a take it off chant going for Terry. But I didn't really care for the way commentary focused on talking through the marriage problems of the Runnels family here. It was nonstop throughout this match. It was, of course, sprinkled with all kinds of innuendo. Val, Venus, and Terry all over each other every chance they could get was also really annoying. Didn't like that. And it looked like there was a fucked up pinfall. Like Val was supposed to kick out but didn't. The ref caught it, but like it was blatant. I don't know. That looked really shitty. But then afterwards, of course, Val and Terry had to get in the middle of the ring and make out for like a solid 3 minutes while Dustin was basically weeping as he walked up the entry ramp. So, guys, I think I'm going to toss out here what might be an 18%er opinion, but I think I'm over Val Venus. I think that whatever novelty he had has been murdered by this cuckold gimmick. I think that with this match, with the making out with Terry, that Val Venus has officially jumped the shark for me. Maybe I wouldn't feel as harshly as I do if they hadn't have tripled down on this whole cucking gimmick.
It's the only thing he does.
It really is. That's it. And as a result, as it stands, I had to give this match a dud. Ryan, what'd you have on this?
Yeah, I agree with you with Val. I think if I was 25, 30 years younger, like I was when I was a kid, I probably would tolerate the juvenile jokes a little bit more or whatever, but it's run its course for me at this point, and I think it ended with the choppy you're a pee-pee. That was basically the last good segment that Val was in, because that was hilarious. But the match that they continued with was bad. Getting back to this match, I just don't care about this version of Dustin Runnels, the Zealot. I just want it to be over with. Like, please, can we just get back to Gold Dust? And I really think that's where we're going, but we're not quite getting there quick enough, it seems. At one point, there was an air horn in the crowd, and it seemed like it startled JR and the King. And then a few seconds later, the crowd started booing, and there wasn't really anything happening in the ring, so I assume security probably ejected the guy with the air horn. So I thought that was kind of a funny story happening in the crowd in real life. The match, very forgettable. We end it humiliating Dustin Runnels even more, and I'm in agreement. To me, this was a dud. I'm over it.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. The first thing I had noted was that you gotta love that Dustin is the one getting booed here by the crowd. Like,
yeah, right.
It's so great. And Terry comes out here looking like a full-blown stripper. She's got the clear heels on and everything, and I like it. The fans like it, and they're bumping and grinding the whole way down the ramp, as JR said. The match is a complete throwaway, pretty much. And this is just all about this storyline. And Val is definitely a pro, because there's no way that I would not be fully torqued if I had to do that.
I know, right?
Took some saltpeter.
I'm going to give it 2 stars. I think the match was worthless, but I do enjoy this storyline.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did Meltzer think of it?
He gave it 3/4 of a star. He said, despite how great the angle is between the two, once they started wrestling, there was no heat at all. So notice, once they started wrestling, the crowd hated it, much like me.
Right.
That darn wrestling.
Yeah.
Fucking wrestling.
Yeah. I just to throw out there, my only dud of the night, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself we've still got 2 matches left on the card, but my only dud. Okay, so we'll keep it going then. We just had a really brief recap of past events that then took us into our next match. D-Generation X, this is Billy Gunn, the Road Dogg, and XPac defeat Jeff Jarrett and Southern Justice by pinfall in 11 minutes and 15 seconds. I loved the Double J Jeff Jobber sign right there in gold circle seating. That was fantastic. I also have to note here that Dennis Knight is wearing sleeves now, so that's good. No Phineas arms on display, at least not as bad. Thank you. And I feel like a broken record here. I feel like I've said this about a lot of these matches, but I thought the match was mostly just fine. Like, it was nothing to write home about. It was nothing crazy or great. It was there. It wasn't blatantly offensive. I did really like Mark Canterbury catching XPac into a power slam. That looked great. That was like hints. Like, it was like almost character blue balls. Like, oh, what could have been? What we could have done with Mark Canterbury. He could be so much better than what he is now with these fucking gimmicks that he's been stuck with.
Now he's a stripper bouncer.
Yeah. He should be bouncing Val off of Terry.
No touching.
Yeah. Don't touch the ladies. The best part of this was when Jarrett and X-Pac were in the ring together. The other matchups were fine, but X-Pac and Jarrett against each other stood above the rest of it for me. And of course, this wouldn't be a Jeff Jarrett match without his new gimmick, breaking a guitar over people's heads, which really begs the question to me of where he's getting all of these guitars, how he's transporting them, and how many he's buying at a time. Like is he getting a bulk discount? These are the things that come to mind.
Guitar Center.
I don't have anything better to think about in this match. That guitar shot appeared to have injured X-Pac's eye. We may get updates later on tonight. Spoiler, we won't, but more likely we're going to find out that something may have happened on Raw tomorrow night. So I ended up going with 2 stars on this. I wasn't excited that this was on the card. And frankly, I would have preferred it to be just Jeff Jarrett and X-Pac. And that rating, that 2-star rating that I gave, is based strictly on their time together in the ring and not much else. So, Joe, what'd you think of this?
I am completely over the guitar shot to the head. Like, it's happened every time we see Jeff Jarrett, which is every fucking week on Raw, maybe more than that on shows we're not watching, like Heat or Shotgun or whatever. So it's not that exciting to see. We see it all the time. And I'm over it. I don't like 6-man tags, and Southern Justice really sucks bad. But this probably would have been a dud for me, but I really like X-Pac right now, so I'm going to give it 1 star.
Yeah, I think we're going to all be in pretty close agreement here. Joe, just like you, I fucking hate 3-on-3 tag matches, and then throw in Southern Justice as 2 of those 3 on one of the teams, and you're just asking for a bad night. I don't really have much on this. I got pretty bored at one point. The crowd really didn't seem to care about this.
Yeah.
The splinter in X-Pac's eye, not sure I care about that. But I do like X-Pac, and I thought Team DX delivered for the most part. So I didn't go with a dud, but I could not go above 1 star because it was just boring. That was my main point that I came away with, was it was boring.
Yeah, what'd Meltzer think?
Well, he had some interesting comments that maybe the cameras avoided here, but so he gave it 3/4 of a star. He said most of the match saw the heels work over X-Pac, which was good since X-Pac can work. However, this did not get heat largely because everyone was paying more attention to a fight in the stands. And I had no idea that was happening, so the cameras must have totally avoided that.
Yeah, maybe it was the guy with the air horn.
Could have been.
They were fighting to bring him back. Okay, so we're heading into our final match, and of course we got a girthy video package leading into the main event. I thought that this was a really obnoxious video package with the amount of repeating lines they used. It made me think that this was like the video vignette version of the DX entrance. Like if repeated sounds could cause a seizure. Wow.
Horrible.
Wow. Well, I mean, that was a pretty good representation of what this video package sounded like to me. This was just a bunch of repeated lines for no reason, trying to, I don't know, emphasize some kind of importance in the story that really isn't there. So, I don't know. Anyway, that is what led us into our final match of the night. The Undertaker and Kane defeat Stone Cold Steve Austin by pinfall in 22 minutes and 3 seconds to win the WWF Championship. Austin jump-started this match in the entryway. That was a great start. And I spent a good amount of time just watching. I wasn't taking any notes because I couldn't decide if I was liking what I was seeing. As good as the action in the ring was at times, I also don't care about this story at all. I'm ready for like we said, you guys said earlier, this is where I have noted, I am so fucking ready for everybody to move on. I want Austin to have a different opponent. I want The Undertaker to have a different opponent. I don't care what the fuck Kane does. He can put on his tracksuit and walk away at this point, for all I care. I want to get away from this. This was never really entertaining before whenever it was cahoots, and it still isn't entertaining now to me. And that was perpetuated by commentary. Much like the Val Venus match, I was rolling my eyes pretty hard throughout a lot of this with the ways that commentary was trying to sell this. JR getting all red-assed and going, well, life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. Like, Jesus, JR, shut the fuck up. I'm sorry, but I don't care. Like,
these two demons.
Yeah, you're not making this more interesting by doing the pity party for Austin. The Undertaker backstabbing Kane at various points, that was a little bit of a surprise. The first thing that I saw that I thought was interesting, really. But then that was up until they just kept on pretending that it didn't happen and would go back to working with each other. It happened a few times, and they would have like a real quick tete-a-tete and go back to working
brotherly
over Austin.
love. They just had to work it out.
Yeah, and that would maybe matter if I gave a shit to begin with, but I didn't. So one of the most entertaining parts of this match was commentary making excuses for Earl Hebner not doing his fucking job. Again, useless. God, what a useless fucking wiener he is. Finally, the finish to this match was also a little confusing to me. Both Kane and The Undertaker pinned Austin, but Vince McMahon showed up to take the belt and run with it. He then got into a limo and took off while Austin was fighting with Patterson and Briscoe. Slaughter tripped and fell on his fat ass in the middle of all of that, which was great, but Austin did end up making his way to the parking lot where McMahon in his limo parked at the top of like the access ramp or whatever that was going into the parking garage. And this pay-per-view ended with a view of Vince McMahon flipping off Stone Cold Steve Austin from the safety of the limo, just as JR was saying, "Good God," as we faded to black. Like I said in my notes, I was not excited for this at all, and nothing really changed that for me while I was watching the match. The work was perfectly fine. I'm not claiming any faults by anyone in the ring. Everybody did their best as far as I could tell, but I just did not care. But the energy was there. The crowd was behind this. So I felt like I was being generous at giving it 2 stars. Ryan, I'm really curious to hear where you're at with this, given your fandom of Taker and just where the story has been so far.
I've been pretty vocal that I'm not completely up on this current storyline. I have thought it's gotten better since they got away from the cahoots, but it's still not exactly what I want for The Undertaker or Stone Cold. The action between all three here was pretty good. We start off, Austin has his plan that he's going to separate the two, but of course that could only last for so long, but before the numbers catch up. And the rest of the match, like 90% of it, is just Undertaker and Kane beating on Stone Cold.
Yeah.
So if they're trying to build up Stone Cold as the biggest badass in the company, I guess that's working. You have two monsters just beating on him relentlessly, and the match still goes on over 20 minutes. But it's hard to say it was a good match when it was just two guys beating up on one most of it. Like, I understand the storytelling of it. I understand Vince McMahon is getting his way by this happening. I'm just not sure it makes for the most entertaining match. I did, however, really love the ending. We have this double pin, so we don't know what's happening with the belt. Vince McMahon comes down, grabs the belt, runs away in a limo, and it really makes me want to tune in to tomorrow night, Monday Night Raw. We're getting to a point now, especially with these tweener pay-per-views, not the main ones, where they are more of a setup for Raw than Raw is for the pay-per-view. And I think that was how this ended here. And to me, I was almost in a 2-star with you with the ring action, but the ending ticked it up 3 stars for me because I'm definitely tuning in tomorrow night now.
I didn't necessarily think the match was great. And I, too, like I said earlier, I'm ready for Austin to move on to a different opponent. I'm ready for The Undertaker to move on to a different opponent. I think another thing that hurts this whole storyline is that there's no Paul Bearer involved.
Yes.
You have both Undertaker and Kane in this storyline for weeks now, and no Paul Bearer, so it hurts it a little bit, especially with Kane, because Kane is not, I don't know, Kane seems a little more empty to me when he doesn't have Paul Bearer with him.
He lost his voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but regardless of that, I think the focus of this was mainly put on what I think is the most entertaining part of wrestling in 1998, and that's Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy this for that reason. So again, I didn't think the match was very good, but I think it had pieces that were entertaining. I loved seeing Austin go after the Stooges. I thought that was hilarious. I think that it was appropriate for Kane to get introduced first in this match because it's a nice reminder that he is a jobber now, in case anyone forgot.
Yeah.
So I think it was appropriate.
Needed a sign for him like Double J got.
And there was a funny moment on commentary where Jerry Lawler asked, "Where's McMahon?" And JR responded with just a dead serious response saying, "It's not my day to watch him, and I personally don't care." It just sounded so real. And probably was real, to be honest. So that made me laugh. I think this might be the only time I've ever liked a double clothesline. You can mark this day down in history because this is one that it allowed Austin to strike because it was a triple threat. Kane and Undertaker with that double clothesline allowed Austin to strike. So I liked that. It seems obvious that Undertaker and Kane would turn on each other in this match, but I did not predict that. I don't remember this match. I don't really remember this storyline. And I did not predict that. So I thought that was pretty good as well. And a really good ending. It makes you wonder what the fallout will be. Like Ryan said, I'm going to tune in tomorrow. I love seeing the Stooges get their asses beat. I love seeing Vince McMahon act like a total clown at the end with his weird double jointed middle finger that he's giving at the end. Like, it's just funny to me. Like, this was hilarious. And I laughed when I watched it originally, and I laughed again here. And another thing I don't want to just blow past is they showed highlights earlier from Sunday Night Heat with Austin dressed as a ring attendant and then attacked Vince McMahon, which is a pretty memorable moment in the Austin and McMahon feud. So I thought that was cool to see as well. And because of that, just overall entertainment between Vince and Austin, I gave this 4 stars.
Oh, wow. That's so funny you guys went there with that because I'm definitely tuning in tomorrow, but not because of this. I'm tuning in tomorrow because of The Rock, if I'm being honest. The way that the promo went, the match, like, I want more of The Rock, and I'm over this whole more The Undertaker, not Stone Cold so much, and we need to get back into Stone Cold verbally jousting with McMahon. But yeah, this match really didn't do a whole lot for me to really keep me interested in that story. I think it's just, like I said, I'm just that over The Undertaker and Austin as opponents and the way that Vince McMahon ties into it. What did Meltzer think of this?
So one thing that Meltzer pointed out is basically throughout his write-up was something that you pointed out earlier, was that I think this was the first pay-per-view since the start of Sunday Night Heat, correct?
No, we got the last one was the first because we had lead-in matches going into the last pay-per-view.
But the point that he was driving for his whole write-up was that this was a long show. So, like, the crowd is exhausted. They were there to watch a Sunday Night Heat for, like, over an hour, and then they watched this pay-per-view event all in the same night. But he gave this match 2.25 stars. He said the Heat was really disappointing. The show was too long at this point. There was nothing special with the work in the match, but there was nothing wrong with it either. So he was just really pointing out how the crowd just seemed dead for most of this pay-per-view because they were just there for too long.
They were ready to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I felt about it too. Like, the work was perfectly fine. I'm not faulting anybody. Just I don't care. So okay. Well, that's pretty interesting to know. And it really reminds me of, I don't know if they're still doing it, but a couple years ago, whenever AEW was still relatively fresh, they were filming Dark along with their, I can't even remember what the hell their weekly show is called, but they were filming both at the same time, and they were filming Dark after the weekly show. And that's one of the reasons why Dark was so terrible to watch, is the crowd was just dead by that point.
Yeah.
Among other problems. But
you're also doing it the opposite way there. Like,
yeah,
you're giving them the shitty matches after they're already tired.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, as I said, we faded to black, so we need to address a question here. The most important question of the evening. At a premium price of $29.95, did you get your money's worth? Joe, why don't you take that first?
I'm going to say yes on this one because I think that this was a glorified episode of Raw in some ways. I think that some of the stuff that happened tonight was really just keeping storylines going. You had the appearance of Christian. You had the Rock getting his huge reaction from the crowd, and now you have this thing between Austin and McMahon. So I think that they were really driving storylines tonight. So I enjoyed the event based on that.
I'm typically pretty lenient on if I got my money's worth, but I liked the triple threat match for the number one contender, and I enjoyed the very end of the main event, but I think for me, for the first time in a while, I'm going to say no. I did not get my money's worth.
Joe, I find it really funny that you say that you put it that way, because my answer is no, I did not get my money's worth, because this felt like a glorified episode of Raw and not a very good one at that.
I'm here for the stories.
Yeah, it's wild to me that we are on the two opposite ends of the spectrum, but for the exact same reason. So I love it. That's why we're here doing this. I love that.
I hate wrestling.
Between the two of us, we would make one hell of a good wrestling fan.
Good bookers.
Yeah. So, Joseph, I don't suppose you have any numbers from the Wrestling Observer for us.
I do. They may or may not surprise you. Most of the Observer readers that were pulled were in the middle on this one. So 40.8% were in the middle, 28% thumbs up, and 22% thumbs down. So
wow.
pretty mixed reviews.
Sounds about right.
The best match was voted as The Rock versus Mankind versus Ken Shamrock. The worst match was voted as Vader versus Bradshaw. And Meltzer comments on the event saying, overall, it was just a show. The first two matches were a lot better than typical WWF undercard matches, but the main event did not deliver what a WWF main event should. The storyline was there, but the crowd enthusiasm to it and the work of the wrestlers were both way below the standard.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think those are fair comments on this pay-per-view, for sure. And it's a new era of pay-per-view, like we mentioned earlier, because now they have a pre-show. They have a pre-show going into all of their pay-per-views now, so they're probably going to have to figure that out, how they want to go about doing that to keep the crowds into it.
Pump oxygen into the arena like casinos.
Yep.
Well, at least 8-Ball versus Skull stayed on heat.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW, just add at gmail.com at the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most contentious Monday Night Raw review podcast on the airwaves. Next time on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on September 28th, 1998, with matches featuring Vader, Dan Severn, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.